Hmm? Ah!
Oh, Doc. Oh, that sucker's got you pretty good. It's okay. Don't talk. Don't talk. I got you. I got you. Oh, yeah. I've been meaning to tell you. It's 11. 11, Doc Owens, 11. She's been staying with me for about a year, and she's about to save our asses. Maybe when this is all said and done, maybe you could help her out too, you know? Maybe you could help her lead like a normal life. One where she's not poked and prodded and treated like some kind of lab rat, you know? I don't know. It's just a thought. Yeah. Think about it. Don't go anywhere.
Hey everybody, I'm Rima.
And I'm Shawn.
And this is Strange Indeed, a podcast dedicated to the show Stranger Things.
Today we'll be covering the 9th and final episode from Season 2 titled Chapter 9, The Gate.
Oh, we're finally here.
Yes, it's the end of Season 2. It was a doozy.
I know. Man, what a ride. I can't believe we made it, and both of us held out the whole time, watching it week to week. We did not binge it. We made it to the end.
No
and
spoilers.
It was so worth it. No spoilers.
I'm surprised I got no spoilers in this.
I know, and that was so hard because, man, like just 3 days minimum whenever it was released, it was like everywhere, like all kinds of spoilers and, what had happened and, things like that. So that made it tough because it was everywhere. And of course, super popular show, people are talking about it. So good thing I'm a hermit and I don't have like interaction outside of
Yeah.
out in public.
Well, I think it's something with Netflix shows. There's no like clickbait as much because everybody's seen what happened. So I think there's kind of a less of the clickbait stuff going on out there.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah, it's true because it's all out there. There's really nothing to tease because it's all there. Well, I am super excited to start talking about our top 5 from this one. This one was a little bit longer. They gave us an extra almost 30 minutes or I don't know, but it was like an extra long kind of episode there. So that was kind of cool. So I'm ready to jump into our top 5. What do you say?
Let's break it down. Let's get into the top 5.
Okay, so I'll kick it off this round. So my number 5 is Elle Returns. So we jump into right there in the beginning where we left off in the last episode whenever Elle had, unlocked the door and come in there at Joyce's house where all the kids and, Hopper and Joyce and everyone are there and they're fighting off or about to fight off all the Demogorgons. They're all out there circling the house. She has taken them all out because she's a little badass now and always has, but now I think she's got some extra super skills based on spending some time with her sister Collie. So it was super cool. We kind of got to see, because it left off Mike and Elle were just staring at each other. So we got the Mike and Elle reunion. We had Max met Elle. Elle didn't really take that so well.
She got the cold shoulder.
She wasn't having that, and there was a little bit of a disadvantage there. Elle knew she didn't really know who she was, but she saw that whole interaction between Mike and Max in the gym when she knocked Max off of the skateboard. But Max didn't know that. She didn't know Elle had anything to do with that, and the boys certainly haven't really said that much about her as far as to give her a bad impression of her anyway. And I know she's probably wondering, well, what the hell is your problem? And then Elle commenting on Dustin's teeth. They're all kind of catching up. I thought that was super sweet. She's like touching his teeth and she's like, you have teeth.
I like he does this purr and she kind of like jumps back. So like even she knows his purring's like a weird thing.
I know, Dustin, he's so cute. He really thinks that that's so adorable. And I mean, to me, it's adorable, but I'm thinking of him as like a, a cute little kid.
Yeah.
And then we had Joyce and Elle, got their little reunion moment too. I thought that was really sweet that they still, had their bond and their connection from season one. Whenever she was like kind of, trying to be a little bit of a mother to her and let her know that she wasn't alone and that she had appreciated everything she was doing to help find Will in season one. So it was nice to see that they still had a nice bond. So that was just my number 5 kind of lumped in, kind of short and sweet, that nice reunion moment that everybody got to see Elle. And everybody kind of had their moment with her before, they had to all break apart again.
Yeah, I mean, even in that, like with the return of Elle, you had Hop, like he's seen her again because it had been a little bit since, like she had disappeared. He had no clue where she was. So even him in that instance, like, oh my God, okay, she's still alive. She's not captured. So they kind of have an embrace there as well. And I love too, it's like, at first he's very aggressive, like a dad would be probably in that situation. He's kind of like, where have you been? And then kind of hugs her and embraces her. And you get a very touching moment, I think, where Mike confronts Hop about this.
Oh, yeah.
Hop's like, or Mike's just going on about, like, it's really early tense. Like, it's that situation of a kid who just, like you kept this person from, like, you can kind of tell, like, it's the love of his life kind of thing. Like, he has more than just friendship feelings for Elle. And, Hop takes him into a room to talk just one-on-one, kind of man-on-man about it. And he lets Mike kind of beat up on him some to, shows like, hey, dude, like, I understand. Like, I'm sorry. I did the best I could in the situation that was at hand. So I thought that was a very touching moment. Again, you see Hop as kind of this protector of everybody, even though he considered himself a black hole in this episode. But, I think of him more as, very much a protector of everybody.
Absolutely. Very good point. Yeah, good thoughts. What's your number 5?
All right, so my number 5, the only thing that I would probably say this episode, as I thought about it in hindsight, I mean, I loved a lot of the funny parts, but now that I kind of think of it, this episode probably had a little bit too much funny stuff. Mm-hmm. That being said, my number 5 is a very funny situation, and I titled it The Romance Novel. So we get a very attractive Mrs. Wheeler, candlelights all around her bath. She's reading a book. And this is one of those things like, husband would want to take complete opportunity for this.
Everyone but Ted.
Yeah, doorbell rings. She continues to read because it's bath time. Like, she's in the bath.
Yes.
Doorbell
she never
rings
gets those
again.
moments.
No. Doorbell rings again. Dad. Like, I was waiting for it. I was like, fucking Dad, get the fucking door.
Oh my God. I was so waiting for that too.
But, she's reading this romance novel, which, in the 80s and 90s, those type of romance novels were, everywhere. They're like the Western novels of the 50s. Mm-hmm. My mom used to read those all the time. And I used to call them pornos without pictures. And it wasn't until, like, she read them. She's like, no, they're very classy. They're very, artistically done. I'm like, okay, whatever. Uh-huh. And one day I flipped one open and flipped through some pages. And I'm like, this is smut. Like, this is like borderline, Dear Hustler. I never thought this would happen to me.
Oh my goodness.
And, it's, on the cover, it's always some like long-haired, super ripped dude, like saving some chick from like Merman or something.
Got Fabio on the covers, man.
But in this whole instance, she puts down her book, she puts on a robe, and she walks down, opens the door, and, we get, it's Hairband Billy, but I kind of fil like it's Heartthrob Billy at this point.
Mm-hmm. Harlequin romance novel, yeah. Billy.
he was putting on the smoozing with her. It's like, saying how like, oh, I didn't know Nancy had a sister. Oh, I'm Nancy's mother. No.
I know.
And he laid it on pretty thick.
He did.
And I love that, like, through this whole situation, like, Ted's still asleep, snoring on the couch.
Mm-hmm. Completely oblivious.
Yeah. And, and she goes back, she looks at Ted. She's like, oh, man, if I was 20 years younger.
No kidding.
But my number 5 is this was a little bit of a humorous scene, very small amount of time in here, but this is how, Billy kind of figures out where everybody is, leads them there. But it's what I've titled The Romance Novel.
Oh, That is really good. And that's actually because it definitely deserved to be somewhere in the top five, this scene here, because it was just definitely memorable. And that ties into my number three, which I'll just go ahead and talk about, which my number three was titled Billy the Cougar Hunter. Because, like you said, we see Karen, and I mean, she's got not just the candles and the bath going and the lights dimmed. She's got some Barbra Streisand playing in the background from, yeah, that's the music from The Way We Were, which is a pretty famous, if no one has seen it. I'll admit I haven't seen it. I just know what it is because I know movies and pop culture and stuff. So I know what it's about and I know what it is, but I haven't actually watched it. But it's from the Barbra Streisand, Robert Redford movie, The Way We Were. And Barbra Streisand sang that song. So that's what she had playing in the background. The book she was reading was a Joanna Lindsey romance novel. And I'm just going to fess up and say I've read some Joanna Lindsey. I have read some romance novels. What are you going to do? And you cannot blame Karen Wheeler. If you are married to someone like Ted, of course you are reading romance novels. Please. If you got a guy in your life, like you should have in your life, you're not reading romance novels, okay? You don't. So, hello. So I can't, and I mean, you couldn't really blame her reaction either for being so flattered, Billy giving her attention. Because like I said, she's married to Ted. Yeah. Do you think that man has given her a passing, glance in any type of romantic way or swept her off her feet in the last however many years they've been married?
Like we said in early episodes, like I'm pretty sure they have separate beds. Like,
You're right. Like the 50s or something.
If my lady came down in that bathrobe, I'd be like, hey, let's leave the door alone and let's figure something out here. Just me and you. There's no kids in the house.
I know, like their kids aren't even ever there. So what's going on?
And I feel bad I guess you probably had a little bit of fun emotions like seeing, Billy the Cougar Hunter coming in, but that was her private time. I'm sure she was going to take care of some things she needed to take care of, whatever they do in the bathtub. Right. And things that probably her man should take care of, but probably doesn't, and call it an evening. And I don't know if that's a good or bad thing that she got interrupted. I guess in the hindsight, it's probably a good thing. I don't know. I don't know whether it was good or bad. I think it was probably at least good for her ego, whether or not, and which I think Billy was like totally messing with her. I don't think, he was like really into her. I think he was definitely like manipulating her to get the information he wanted so he could find Max. But boy, he was really charming doing it. Like he really lowered his voice and he was very charming and he smiled and, of course, flattered her right away saying, like you said, calling her Nancy's sister and, things like that. So he was definitely laying it on really thick. But what made it so sad is she really ate it up and you can't blame her, but I know he was totally messing with her. And if she only knew what a tool he really was, she may not care, but, that might change her perspective a little bit because man, he might have great looks on the outside, but man, on the inside, he is one mean and nasty person, and he's a bit of a psycho. So yeah, that was my number three as well. So, or not, I know that was your five, but that was my number three. So that's all I have to add to that. Yeah, I know you said you thought he wasn't legitimate, but I mean, every high school boy that age would love a Mrs. Robinson. So,
is that I feel like it's become more commonplace now, the younger guy, older woman thing. But I mean, I was a kid in the 80s. So, I mean, I don't know if that was like a thing then too. I don't know. I guess it's a forever thing. I mean, like you said, Miss Robinson, that was, what was that? Was that the 60s? Like the
70s, yeah.
60s, 70s. Oh, God.
But I mean, whenever my dad and like his friend talk about their high school days, and it always seems like it was a thing back then too. It just was less talk about. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's just more okay now or more open. I'm not sure.
Maybe it's just more open. Maybe it's just not. Maybe it's just open and people talk about it a little bit more because I feel like I never really paid attention or noticed, I guess, the whole, younger guy, older woman kind of thing. But I guess we just see it more. Oh, goodness. What an interaction. Poor Karen. She got her thrill for the night, that's for sure. One way or another, she got her thrill.
Yeah, it never hurts to get hit on. So it's kind of like, oh, well, thank you, young man, here's a
No.
cookie and a phone number. You go
Yeah.
on your way.
Ugh.
And then as the door closed, she just hears,
I know. She's got that damn reminder
yeah,
of
fucking Ted.
fucking Ted. One more time for the finale. Fucking Ted. Yeah, you don't blame her for being flattered. I mean, it's always, someone who's nice looking or interesting or something like that to show a little interest and to be a little flirty or something. That's always, flattering, thinking someone finds you attractive. You can't blame her. I mean, let's have some sympathy for Karen, guys. Look who she's married to.
And she didn't do anything wrong, so
She
it's
didn't
even a
do-
plus there.
She didn't do anything wrong. She didn't flirt back. I mean, if it was me, I probably would have said, yep, I'm her sister. I'm her older sister from college. But no, she did good. She did good. She was like, no, I'm her mother. Hee hee hee. So yeah, she didn't do anything wrong. There's not, like I said, nothing wrong with being flattered by a little bit of flattery. But no, poor Karen. Maybe she'll be done with Ted in the next season.
Maybe that's hopefully like that's what Stranger Things season 3 is just her like finding that she needs the real man and then just leaves Ted, and or maybe Ted finds out all the things he's done wrong and he comes back as like badass Ted.
Now that would be a turn. That would be a bigger turn than Steve the D.
Maybe she goes to the Upside Down and she sees the version of Ted there. And he's a Harley riding badass.
It's a whole new Upside Down next season. Oh my gosh, that's
so what
great.
do you have? What do you have for your number 4?
Number 4, I have. You went into it just a little bit before. It's Hopper and Mike. Kind of a short scene. I wish we had gotten a little bit more from them this season. I know that they had some scenes together, but I don't know, like they were in the scenes together, but I don't know that they had that much interaction with each other. I thought that was such a very well acted scene by both David Harbour and, oh goodness, his name just went blank on me. Finn Wolfhard. Yes, gosh, you said that name so much over the summer with him and being in It and Stranger Things. You think I wouldn't forget? They did so great in this scene, and I thought it was such a great scene because then you really see like the depth of pain and frustration that was coming out in that moment for Mike. Because he's at the moment not understanding. He's very angry at Hopper, over hiding Elle and not telling him that she was there, the whole time. Elle acknowledges, yes, I know that you called out for me every night. I couldn't answer, but I heard you. He's taking out all of his anger and frustration over not seeing her, taking all that out on Hopper. And then, and Hopper's just like, whatever makes you feel better, take it out on me. Don't take it out on her. And, he's just taking it. He's just like, whatever you got to do, that's fine. And, and Mike just keeps lashing out at him. And then you see where he finally breaks down and Hopper just hugs him. And I just thought it was just such a great scene with both of them together. And I think Mike needed that. I don't know. You don't get to see a lot of it after because so much happens after that. But I think that he was finally able to let some of that go because you saw his struggle all through the season and how he took a lot of it out on Max too. When he's like, you're not part of the group. I don't know what you're doing here. So angry that maybe all of that has finally built up and he was able to let that go. So, which I was happy for because I was getting a little bit irritated starting to if we had to see much more of that kind of stuff from Mike because I just didn't feel it was like very good for his character and that's all that we got to see is him complaining about Elle not being around and griping at Max about it. So yeah, I just love that scene.
Kind of woes me on that. But yeah, it's kind of nice to see that they're actually together now, I guess.
Yeah. Yep. What's your number 4?
All right. So for my number 4, this is going to kind of go into a lot of different pieces of this, but we get. I think it's one of my favorite things with a quote with Steve. So Steve's talking to Nancy, and he talks about how he's I'm a pretty shitty boyfriend, but I'm actually a pretty darn good babysitter. And
yeah,
I really like this whole thing with Steve and the kids. Again, this got into a few jokiness too much with me, and mainly just because you haven't really seen a ton of that throughout this season. So it kind of seemed like they saved a lot of the jokes for the end. But, Steve with the kids was pretty awesome. They talked about, they're in this house as everybody has these plans. And they're talking about, like, well, they're on the bench. And all the kids are trying to figure out, like, well, no, like, maybe we need to do something about this. Just kind of key points from this, like, so Dustin talks him into saving one of the demodogs and putting it in the fridge because it's scientific research we have to have.
It was a great moment trying to stuff that thing in the fridge.
But I mean, you see, like, it felt like these kids, like, listen, we've been in a lot of situations, so we think we need to do something to help. And so they hatch this plan. They're going to find this point in the upside down, start a fire, and that's going to draw all the demodogs away because Mike is extremely scared for 11 because she's going in there to close the gate.
Right.
Steve puts his foot down, says, no, we're not doing this. And it's very much like I was worried they're going to like tie him down or something, kind of like Adventures in Babysitting. Or
right.
Babysitting.
Good reference. Yeah.
But it all comes to head when that Camaro comes rolling up the road.
Yep, you can hear it coming.
Yeah, and we see Hairband Billy walking out. And again, just a little bit of funniness coming out. So, Billy walks out, or Billy gets out of his car, Steve gets out of the house, and Hairband Billy's all like, is that you, Harrington? And I love that Steve comes right back. He's like, yeah, it's me. Don't cream your pants.
I know.
So what you get out of this, so he's, it's straight up lying, like, and really you almost feel a little concerned with Billy in this situation. It's like, listen, somebody's telling me that my sister's probably here, and I come here and you're here, but you're telling me she's not. Like, that's really, really odd to me that my 13-year-old sister could be here with you.
Yeah.
And Billy not knowing anything, like, that would be kind of a red flag with me, too. Like, something's not right here.
Sure.
And again, Billy gets caught, or Steve gets caught in the lie too. He's like, well, she's not here. And Billy's like, well, then who's that? Because as the kids, they're peeking out the window.
Of course. You're peeking out the window.
Yeah. It's like, oh my God, what's going on here? And as they duck down, of course, Dustin with his great one lines, do you think they saw us?
Of course they did.
But this tacks into like this huge battle royale between Steve and Billy.
Which was a long time coming. I mean, you saw how they went back and forth, on the basketball court and how, Billy goaded Steve all the time. And so they've already got it out for each other. And this was just building. And I mean, it is kind of, I'm sure Billy probably did really question. I mean, he caught a lot of shit at his house for Max being missing from, his dad. I mean, that was a violent situation. That encounter where he's forced to go look for Max because she's, missing and he's trying to find her. And then, he pops up, finds out where she's at, and there's Steve Harrington. I mean, okay, so before Nancy, Steve had quite a reputation. I mean, it's kind of creepy to think that he'd, have anything to do with someone Max's age, but, it's not completely unheard of, I don't think. But yeah, you got to kind of, you almost see his point of view a little bit. I hate to say I really kind of sympathize or anything with Billy, but I think if I were in his shoes, I'd, be concerned as well. Oh, yeah, he doesn't know what's going on.
No, yeah, he doesn't know about these demodogs or demogorgons or upside down. He just knows that he had an opportunity to go out with a chick that night. They got ruined. And so, when he shows up here, it's like, okay, this is a great excuse to kick somebody's ass. Like, I've got some frustrations I need to take out, and this is how I take them out.
Yeah.
And the battle inside, like if we talked about, this is the second time that Steve's gotten his ass kicked in this TV show.
Yeah. He needs to learn some skills.
Yeah, he does. And I thought he was going to do pretty well at first. Of course, he did take a plate to the head. So
he did.
Was kind of, that was kind of unfair, but one rule of fighting is, there's no rules in fighting.
That's right.
There's no cheating in fighting. It's, you got to fight to win.
That's right.
And in those moments when he was laying those punches, like I thought he was going to kill Steve. Like if he was left alone, he probably would have killed him.
I think he would have too. That or like done some serious damage and like really like maybe put him in a coma or something, or really do some. I mean, he was hitting him hard and he was not stopping. But that was bananas.
Max comes in to save him essentially. Puts the medicine in him that knocks him out. And this is where she kind of gets like her moment. She grabs the bat, and again, like I have no clue where the show's going to go. Like I thought she was going to just kill him.
I did too.
Like she grabs it and she's like, you're going to stop doing this. I was like, oh shit, she's going to like finish it. And this was kind of a little bit of a weaker acting moment to me because he's kind of under the influence. He's kind of like, oh no. And, she smashes it down. I was like, oh shit, she get his legs? Like, oh no, she just hit it between his legs.
Mm-hmm.
But even that moment, he's like, "Oh, okay, I'll leave you alone." I don't really understand like how any of that really was a situation. It's like, okay, well, when I wake up, like I'm not gonna fall for this. It's not like she overpowered him at his normal. Like she just basically drugged him and then threatened him there.
Right. And yeah, I definitely see your point, and I kind of wondered the same. And I thought, I don't know if maybe it was just one of those moments, which, Max never really, she did kind of back down to him a lot. I mean, it's like she tried to stand up for herself, but she would always in the end kind of back down from him. And I wonder if it's kind of like that bully situation. The person that gets picked on finally stands up to the bully and it's like, I'm not taking your shit anymore, and you're going to start leaving me alone, or I'm going to knock the shit out of you. Or, I'm going to start fighting back. And that kind of turned it for him. Like, oh, he's like, oh, okay, she's not gonna, be taking my shit anymore, and I'll leave her alone. It seemed a little bit too, I don't know, it seemed a little too far-fetched maybe, but I wonder if that's kind of where they were going with that. I mean, I don't know if maybe Steve gave her one of his bats and to keep at the house, and she'll flash it every now and again as a reminder, like, step out of line again, I'm gonna
I'm gonna
smack
knock
you with
you
this
with
bat.
one of these. Yeah, because the end of the episode, we kind of see like him walk by, and she gives him like I'm gonna kick your ass look.
Yeah,
But that was very like I always like a Christmas not a Christmas Story a Christmas Story where he beats up the bully in that one.
Yeah,
That makes sense because it's like, oh, you got the shit kicked out of you when you're just acting normal. That's why you're scared, because like it's like, oh, this kid can actually hurt me.
mm-hmm.
But in this situation, it's like, oh, well, if I'm not drugged, like she really doesn't have the upper hand at all.
Yeah, I agreed with that too. I think she did what she needed to at the moment to incapacitate him, because Steve was, I mean, he's not the adult in that room, but he was the biggest one there at the time, between him and Billy, and those kids weren't going to be able to do anything without either knocking him out with a bat or knocking him out with something to knock him unconscious or knock him out long enough to incapacitate him. So she used the drug instead. But I think that's kind of where they were going with that. I think if she had been strong enough or big enough to hit him, and maybe, which Billy could take a punch. I mean, he was, I don't know how hard Steve can hit, but he got some really good hits in there, and Billy just laughed. I mean, he just kept laughing, and he's like, is that all you got? And I'm like, oh shit, he's tough. He can take a punch, and he was really beating the shit out of Steve. So I think the only way that made sense at the time, I guess, was to drug him. But I think you make a really good point, about, is that really what's going to stick for him leaving her alone? I mean, she did give him that look, like there at the end, like, well, I dare you to say something, and he just kind of keeps walking, looks at her and keeps walking away. And I don't know. I agree with you.
Yeah, and I think one of the things too, like, unfortunately, I think the reason that Billy can take a punch, I'm probably sure that his dad's, from what we saw, I'm sure that he's not a let's sit down and talk about what you did wrong kind of dad.
Yeah, that's true. That is so sad. So sad.
But yeah, my number 4 is just really kind of going to Steve, the babysitter.
He made a really great babysitter.
He did.
He really did.
Yeah.
It was really great. So my number 3, I already talked about, because that was your number 5, was Billy. But mine was titled The Cougar Hunter. I think we've talked about that pretty good. There wasn't a lot in that scene. It was pretty loaded, but it wasn't very lengthy. So I think that we've talked about that quite a bit, that whole scene.
It's not the length of the scene. It's the motion in the ocean.
Oh gosh. We'll just say yes. And so what's your number 3, since we already covered mine?
All right, so my number 3, I kind of talk about the plan, and the plan with Will and his mom and Jonathan and Nancy. So they finally figured out that, he likes it cold, because somehow the window was open too. So I don't know if they opened it or what, but Joyce gets in her head, like, oh, we got to burn this thing out of him. It's like a virus. We got to make the host uncomfortable. So they take him somewhere that they don't know. which is the cabin. They get all this stuff set up to basically make like a smokehouse, and they're gonna burn this virus out of Will. And got fire, you got electric heaters, they got fans to blow the smoke on it or the heat on them, and they make that place hot. Like you see them all sweating like crazy. They're taking off some of their clothes because they're burning up.
Yep, it's like a sauna.
Yeah, and it's like a sweat lodge too, like a sauna sweat lodge. Like you're going here to go on a journey quest, a vision quest,
or detox.
Yeah. Oh yeah, having all kinds of like weird LSD post trips.
Yeah. You're supposed to be smoking some peyote or something in there, right? On those, find your spirit animal and those spiritual journeys, smoking some peyote up in those sweat lodges. Yeah.
Well, what's crazy is like you start to see, Joyce and Jonathan are both kind of like, okay, like, you're killing, like, I guess it was Jonathan more than Joyce. He's going to like, we're killing him, like he's going to die. And, I love that they flash back to images of Bob.
Yeah.
Because it kind of triggered in Joyce's head, like, listen, something's in my son. If I'm going to save him and everybody else, like, it's kind of the situation like in horror movies where people don't do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of, like a situation like, oh, well, my mom's a zombie, but I can't shoot her because it's still my mom. It's like, well, no, it's not.
Right.
So you have to do what you have to do to survive and save everybody else, as sad as it is. And I think that's probably what was in her mind. So it's like, listen, either we're going to defeat this thing inside my son and he might die, or we're not going to do anything and he's going to die and we're all going to die anyway.
Yeah, and I think that, as she's picturing Bob, I think she's kind of seeing it that, she didn't want that to be for nothing. She didn't want Bob's sacrifice,
good call,
to be for nothing. That, he sacrificed himself and, he was a superhero for them and, got them out of the facility and, and I think that was kind of part of it too. It just kind of fueled her quest and kept her strong because she stayed incredibly strong,
yes.
In that scene. Because we did see Jonathan, because you would normally, I think, expect to see the mom, breaking down and not being able to go through with it. Nobody wants to see their child in that kind of distress and screaming in pain. You saw how whenever they first took him to the facility, whenever the shadow monster first kind of took him over and he's screaming, it's burning. And she just doesn't know what to do with herself. And, you can see her really breaking down from that point. But in this, it's kind of flip-flopped a little bit where Jonathan is, he can't take seeing it. And I think it just fueled her drive, at like, we're going to see this through. We have, yes, like you said, it might kill Will, which nobody wants to see that happen. And of course, Joyce doesn't, but she's, I think, seeing, sacrifice the one for the greater good, if that's what it takes. I know she's hoping it doesn't come to that. I think she's thinking she's positive she can drive it out of him.
They hold on just long enough too, and you start to see it almost looks like possession from like the TV show Supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
You see his veins just go black, and it's very much like evil Will at this point because he breaks the line and she jumps up to try and hold him down.
Mm-hmm.
He starts choking her.
Yes,
and at that point, like it's just pushing and pushing and pushing, and he just ends up, the mind flare ends up leaving like a demon. And in those same moments, like she probably had that fear. Like after it leaves, they look at him and they're like, okay, like he's not moving. And in that moment again, like I was expecting somebody to die in this episode, and there wasn't anybody.
Yeah.
But as you're watching, it's like, oh shit, like he's gone, isn't he? But he wakes up and Jonathan's able to get on the CB and give the call out to say, hey, close the damn gates.
Yes, do it. Yeah, that was really great.
I thought it was a well done episode, kind of set of scenes. One thing I kind of have noted is there's a shot during this moment where all three of these storylines are kind of converging. So you see the fire you see the kid setting the fire in the upside down. You see Will, getting his mind flare extracted, and then you see Hop and 11 getting to where the gate is. And there's a really cool scene where you see all three of these kind of happening in motion. And I just thought that was a really, really cool and really well done setup.
I agree. I loved how because we had everyone finally coming together, in the last episode. Everyone's finally, everybody's been separated off doing their own thing, having different interactions and experiences. And then finally we get everyone together only to then separate again for a good cause. They all seem to have, a purpose and want to do something to help. But then we all separate again. But then it was you kind of almost had them together, just how they cut those scenes together, because they were all working together for the same purpose, trying to right this wrong, and closing that gate. So yeah, I agree. It was so well done there in the last pieces of when all that was happening, and seeing everyone's like what's happening here, what's happening there, and how it's all kind of happening at the same time. Thought it was really well done.
But my number 3 is kind of the first of the 3 storylines that were going on at this time, and it is the plan with Will and extracting the mind flare.
It was great. It was like an exorcism happening there.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, that was really great. Okay, my number 2, we kind of went into a little bit, or you talked about some, was Steve the babysitter is my number 2.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Man, I never would have thought when we were covering season 1 that we'd be throwing so much love on Steve.
Oh, I know. I mean, he's like one of your favorite, or at least one of my favorite characters in this show now, because you see the heart. I mean, he kind of grew up in this series.
Yeah.
First episode, he's just cared about his image and getting the girl, and then he kind of realizes that oh, I actually do have emotions for this girl.
Yeah.
And in this one, you see like, okay, he's becoming more of a man and more of an adult. Like there's more to life than just getting chicks and being popular.
Yeah, that's for sure. He has grown quite a bit, and that's what I really got to give credit, to the Duffer Brothers and all the writers and such on the show that have done such a great job with his character, because I really, I didn't hate him like I do Billy so much, but I just thought, man, you are a big old jerk, and I really didn't think that I would ever come to like him. And you can't, I think, help but like him and his character in this season. So it's really great how he was so protective of the kids. Like he took his job seriously. He's like, I said I was going to be, I was going to protect you, and that's what I'm going to do. And he was being protective of the kids. He was being protective of Max when Billy showed up, and I like also after the when the kids are all in the car, Max is driving and he's in the back seat and he starts to come to, and he is like freaking out, like what is going on? Those Band-Aids on his face.
Yes. That was Dustin's doing.
Absolutely had to be just grabbing whatever Band-Aids they had.
They need a spin-off series of Dustin and Steve. Because, as they're talking, Dustin's like, you put up a good fight, but he still kicked your ass.
But it was a good fight. You did good. Oh my gosh. I know. You just want to eat those two up. They definitely, if it wasn't so done in like a corn dog way, I would love to see that. Or Steve always with these kids, to see a spinoff of Happier Days in Hawkins, as when they finally, have defeated everything to do with Upside Down, and we get to see some interaction with Steve kind of mentoring these boys, and teaching them the ways of the world. Yeah, that would be really great. But I really thought it was funny as he's freaking out in the car, how he then was protecting the kids underground too, because they're like, you know what, we're going in. Our friend, they need help, and this is what we do. So do your job, do what you said you were going to do, and protect us, and hands him the bat. I thought that was really great.
It was a pretty touching moment. Kind of like, here's your, it's like, here's your lightsaber, here's your weapon.
Exactly.
Do your job and protect us.
Exactly. And then of course at the end, before, when he's got Dustin in the car when he's taking him to the snowball, I thought that was really cute that he's got Steve dropping him off instead of his mom taking him.
Yeah, that was pretty cute.
Yeah, and that he was giving him tips, on girls, and the whole dancing scene, and you just don't care. You just don't care.
Well, and what I like is he's kind of that like brotherly, fatherly figure for him, probably, because he does his little growl. And Steve's like, yeah, don't do that. Like, let's leave that be.
Yes.
You're talking about while they're underground. One of the other funny things, there's actually 2 funny things I think that happened down there with him and Steve. So Mike is, he's got the map. He's like, okay, I think we got to go this way. And you see Steve jump to the front line. He's like, no, he's like, I'm going to be the leader, because if any of you little shits die down here, it's going to be on me.
Right.
And then we get the great scene with him trying to come to Dustin when Dustin got sprayed, because Dustin got sprayed by the same thing that Hopper did.
Yes, the weird thing in the wall or ceiling.
Yeah, and he goes through like this whole thing of like he's choking on it. It seems like he's actually hurt, and he's like, "Oh, well, I'm good. I'm good. All right, I'm good."
Yeah. How funny he comes around. Yeah, that I loved all of that. You covered a lot of it really well. Talking about it previously, at the house and with the kids and how he was being protective and all of that interaction. But I loved seeing all of that interaction with Steve. I think all of them have, and I know that like they really, Gatton Matazzaro, and I'm probably pronouncing his last name wrong, so sorry. And Joe Keery, who play Steve Harrington, and Dustin have really good chemistry offset and behind the scenes, and I think that's what made it come across really well on screen as well. But I think there was great interaction with him and all of the kids. They all seemed to have a really great chemistry together, and it was super fun. And so that was my number 2, is Steve the babysitter. We got to see more, I hope, of Steve next season. So what's your number 2?
All right, so my number 2, we talked about the 3 different storylines. I think this was probably the bigger of the 3, because you had Will in the Mind Flayer and the sweat shack. You had the kids in the upside down, and I think the third one here is the closing of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the first things I noticed whenever Elle and Hopper get to the front of the gate is this gate has grown.
Yes,
like it has gotten massive,
scarily
and
so.
At first, the first thing I wrote when I'm looking at this, I'm like, well, is the gate the Mind Flayer, or is the Mind Flayer something behind the gate? And I think as we've seen is the Mind Flayer coming through, I think it's more of that the Mind Flayer is just behind the gate. So maybe it's doing something to make the gate bigger, but it's not actually part of the upside down. Like,
I don't know, because it's like it seems way more powerful than like the Demogorgons. Like we thought the Demogorgon was the big baddie of the upside down in season 1, and then of course this time around we get the Shadow Monster. You're like, oh, them Demogorgons ain't nothing. He seems to control, the upside down, the Demogorgons, and I don't know if he's like the ruler. I don't know of the upside down, if there is such a thing, but yeah, I don't know. I was curious about that too, like what that connection is.
Yeah, because they talked about the hive mind, and I know like it had something to do with the Demodogs. So I'm not sure, like you said, yeah, is he the ruler of the upside down, or is he just like one of the main, or is there other things in the upside down that are besides him? So he's like the only one that's found this gate opening here in Hawkins, which is scary to think about, because he kept seeming like he kept getting bigger and bigger too.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just because he was so far away and like coming closer to Hawkins in the upside down, or if he was actually indeed growing.
Right.
I love as Elle is trying to close the gate, she's using all the stuff she learned from her sister to, like think of something that you hate or something to motivate you to do like more with your power.
Yes.
And as all that's going on, Hopper's playing some defense with his guns, keeping these Demodogs at bay. And so you get you see the power from both of them. You see Hopper using what he's good at, and you see 11 doing her thing.
Yeah, great scene. I loved that whole thing. And
the final moment as she's going full dark, I guess it wouldn't be Dark 11. I keep thinking of her and Dark Phoenix are very similar characters.
That's hilarious. That's what I have in my notes. Is it and maybe Dark Phoenix is more accurate, but I was definitely thinking she had a total Jean Grey moment at the end when she's closing the gate.
Oh yeah. I mean, blood's coming out of her nose, her ears. I don't think it was coming out of her eyes.
No, but she had her veins were popping, but they didn't look. I don't think they were black. Like whenever you saw Will and the Shadow Monster was fighting internally inside of him, or whatever, and you saw his veins popping, but you could see her veins popping or stressed, in those moments.
Yeah, we've always seen her just use the one hand. Mm-hmm. And in this moment, she's getting it close. She pulls out the second hand as the Mind Flayer's coming closer to her. And just, that's when she just goes full 11. She goes to 22 at that point. She doubles her power.
I know.
And shuts that gate, super quick. as I'm watching this episode, what I wrote down, because at this point, this is when the kids were still in the upside down.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this fear. I'm like, oh shit, like what happens if she closes the gate and the kids are still in the upside down?
Yes, I thought the same. Like, how are they going to get out? They don't know that they're there.
Yeah, because I thought that's what they're going to lead into, like the end of this episode is going to be like, oh shit, Mike and Dustin and Steve are still under the upside down because everybody gets out but those two because the dogs are coming.
Mm-hmm.
To tag back onto the Steve the D, or I guess we can't call him Steve the D anymore. I have to call him Steve the B, Steve the babysitter. When those demodogs come in, like he, gets into a protective formation around Dustin.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like, I can't get Dustin up in time, so I'm going to do whatever I can to protect him. And of course, they end up running past him. But like that's the fear I had is like, oh shit, like what happens if they get trapped there?
Yeah, I thought that too. I thought, oh my God, they're going to close this gate. They don't know that, like they've been given the go ahead. Like you said, they signaled from the cabin, close the gate, that it's all clear. And then they're still down there. And I was like, oh my God, they're going to like totally be trapped or something. What's going to be happening here? How are they going to get out? And it just adds more intensity to the whole thing, as if you didn't have enough going on. As like you said, 11 is closing this gate. I mean, that was an intense moment. I was like on the edge of my seat. I think I was breathing like really hard and, like, oh my God, that's amazing. That whole scene. And Hopper's, the Demogorgons are coming. It's like the Shadow Monster calls them to like, come take them out and try to stop them. And, he's shooting them as much as he can and trying to keep them off Elle because she's so focused and has to focus. She can't take her mind off what she's doing. God, that was a great moment.
Yeah, that's my number 2 is closing the gate. Did you have any extra stuff that you noticed on closing the gate that I might have missed?
I didn't. I'm sitting here just looking at my notes of what I have because I didn't have it as one of my points in my top 5. Like you, I noticed like she was using what she learned from her sister Kali about channeling her anger. You saw the little flashback of how she was kind of training her. Which I think just kind of points to, I know a lot of people didn't really like episode 7, and I won't say that it was my favorite, but I understand the need for it. I think this is why we needed episode 7. This is why it needed to happen. 11 was powerful before, don't get me wrong. She was able to do some amazing things in season 1, but she didn't have to go this level. This was definitely leveling up, and having to close the gate and go up against something more than just a full-size Demogorgon. She was going against this huge shadow monster and trying to, close the gate, which was a hell of a lot bigger than what it was, when she opened it. So I think that's why we needed episode 7. So anyone who may have hated it, at least try to know the purpose that it served. And I think this is the purpose that it was for Kali to teach her how to channel that. So she was able to do this task that was presented to her, and teach her the things that she needed to know in order to focus, and dig deep. I think also, I don't know really how to take it. I think I really kind of wanted to talk to you about it and just kind of talk it out because I'm not really sure like how it could be referenced. But as 11's closing the gate, we're seeing all these flashbacks. You see the flashback of Kali, you see her flashback with Dr. Brenner, and he's talking about the wound that 11 has. And I'm like, okay, so is he talking about the wound that she has inside? She has this wound because that's festering because of what happened to her. Like she's still hurt over what happened to her and like her being responsible for opening the gate. Is that a wound, or is it being referenced like the wound about the gate is a wound and she's closing or / healing it?
Well, and that was in the fake Dr. Brenner too, right?
Yes.
When she was with Kali.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if whenever she makes you see things, if it's you projecting it or if she's projecting it to you. Mm-hmm. If it's Elle projecting it, then I think the wound would have been the gate. Like that's the open wound is the gate that you created. Mm-hmm. But if it's not, if that's something being projected by your sister, then to me that's saying that her sister knows more than she let on, mm-hmm. and there's something that they both only know about themselves, and maybe there's another upside down thing that she's created, not just the gate. Like maybe she has a toll bridge out there she's created between the Upside Down and our world, where, you know, that's where Dr. Brenner is right now. He's taken, you know, tokens from, you know, the Demodogs to get across so they can get into our world. And so it's not as dangerous as the gate, but, you know, it's just a toll bridge.
Interesting. Yeah, I wasn't sure how to I guess you can kind of take it and interpret it however you feel it fits the story, but I know I hadn't quite figured that out and what that meant, because yeah, it was not the real Dr. Brenner, it was a projection. But what was he saying? Was that what was Kali projecting those words, or was that coming internally from what Elle was feeling at the time? I wasn't quite sure how to take that. I just thought it was interesting how they flashed to that as she was closing the gate, which the gate was like an open festering wound, and she's closing it. So was that the wound, or did she really have wounds? Because obviously she has issues, you know, from, and who wouldn't, of course, as Hopper said, bless you, as Hopper had said, she was treated like a lab rat, you know, poked and prodded, and, you know, horrible things done to her, separated from her mother, all of these things that's happened to her over the years, and the treatment that she has sustained, and then to find her mother in the state that she's in, and what these people have done to her, you know, that has made her be in this state where she can't really communicate, and she's kind of cut off from the world. You know, was that the wound inside of her? Is she healing that wound inside of her as well? Like because she, in episode 7, there was so, you know, Kali was so angry and trying to, you know, feed that anger into 11 to and project that onto her. And when they were like going after the people that had run the facility and done all of these horrible things. And it was like, Elle was like, I feel like that was a healing moment for her to, you know, be like, you know, I'm not going to be like you, Kali. I'm going to help my friends. I'm going to do good and use what I have for good, not for killing people that did these bad things.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Really righted or wrong there. So, and you don't really know with this show if they're sprinkling things for season 3, or if this is, you know, because this season 1 kind of felt like there was a lead up to a sequel,
right?
Whereas this one, I mean, they had the obvious, you know, movie ending, like, oh, the Upside Down's still there, but there was nothing that really pushed that, oh, here's what season 3 is going to be about. So I don't know if any of these things sprinkled in, like the wound thing, is something for a future episode, or if like our future season, or like you said, it just was kind of talking about the gate.
Yep. I think you can probably take that and run it a couple of different ways, is kind of how I took it. But I just thought that was interesting. So that's really all that I had to tack on to what you were saying with that.
This is going to be our very last number 1 for Stranger Things until it comes back in a couple, hopefully next year. But what's your number 1 for this final episode?
I'm not ready. I don't want to do. I'm sad. I don't want to do our last number 1 until who knows, because we don't even know. We don't have a date. We might not even see it in 2018. So I mean, we know it's coming. We just don't know when. I'm kind of sad, but my number 1 is Acts of Bravery, and we saw. Yeah, I think we saw a lot of that in this episode, where you have Hopper taking on the Demodogs to get to the gate. As they know they have to go down that big hole in that I don't know what the hell, that thing that drops them down into where the gate is. But he's just like, you know, you see him take that deep breath. And you know, he's ready to start firing because the Demodogs are all surrounding that hole and they're all right there. Clearly they're outnumbered. And even just going back to the facility to begin with, he knows, I mean, they just left that place not that long ago and the place was crawling with those things everywhere. So the act of bravery that Hopper continues to show, you know, throughout this episode, that he has done throughout the season as well, I just love to see. And then you have the kids. They're all rallying together. They're determined to help their friend, you know, to try to help them, you know, try to help Elle, try to help, you know, Will as he's fighting his battle with the shadow monster. So they decide to go underground. They have absolutely no idea what they're going to encounter, but they, you know, they're determined to help their friends. And it's kind of like, what would they have done had, you know, what were they going to do to try to get around? You know, if Billy hadn't shown up and knocked the crap out of Steve, what were they going to do to try to convince Steve to go, or what were they going to do to Steve? Were they going to leave him? Were they going to tie him to a chair?
That would have been like, yeah.
Be like, sorry, Steve, we love you, but we're going anyway. So it would have been interesting to see, how that would have turned out had Billy not shown up. To knock Steve out temporarily, for the kids to be like, okay, he has no choice in the matter. We're grabbing the keys. We're out of here. So that was, I think, an act of bravery for them to do that. It seems like those kids are always ready to rally and help a friend out. Then you have Joyce and Jonathan and Nancy taking Will to the cabin to drive the shadow monster out of Will. That was certainly an act of bravery. You didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know if it was going to kill Will or if it would even work. That was just something, again, Joyce, who always gets, I think, underestimated with her intelligence and how smart she really is, coming up with this plan of what we need to do to help Will. So I think that was an act of bravery in of itself. That was, certainly pretty scary. And then, of course, the really big act of bravery was 11 facing the gate and risking herself to save everyone. And I think we've seen lots of bravery throughout. I think it's been quite a theme throughout the whole series and not just this season. But there were some really big moments because you didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know if it was going to work. And it was pretty scary circumstances that they were all jumping into. So that's my number one. And probably I'll just tack onto that as well. My number one in acts of bravery. I wasn't wanting to go too much into the very end that we get into, but I think another act of bravery, Dustin asking all them girls to dance.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about
that
brave.
Was brave and heartbreaking at the exact same time.
Yeah. I have it in my notes, of course, that, I'd like to jump in. I didn't have it as one of my top. And so I have a lot of the stuff in the notes for the after, after all this comes about. But I feel that was extremely brave. That boy got pumped and, with the help of Steve, pumping him up and giving him some confidence. That was brave. That is not an easy thing to do, to, ask a girl to dance. And he did it several times. And of course he got shot down, but it paid off in the end, I think. So I think that was a big, big act of bravery as well. So I'll add that to my number one.
Yeah, I've made that. The only thing that, I very much relate to Dustin, asking the girl and being like, no, why would I dance with you?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm a nice guy.
Yeah.
And, would like to meet your mom. And, but I never had the older Nancy come up to me and be like, oh, hey, kiddo, why don't you dance with me? So, I felt like that was a really at his lowest. Cause he tried, like you said, 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
And, she came back as hey, because, she probably sees it. She's like, I know what those girls are thinking. I was thinking that, I want the Steve. But really what I want is the nerdy Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of sees, I think, a little bit of that.
Totally. Really good comparison. Yeah. Yep. So that's my number one. What, Shawn, what's your final number one for this season until season 3?
All right. So that kind of, yours kind of leads right into mine. My number one's the snowball.
Yay!
I've got a few little tidbits on this. So one of the things I thought was cool is, as the kids are all getting ready, and I think it was only Mike's mom that did this, but just at the start of the season, at the end of the season, we're getting pictures. Yeah, she's taking pictures of them and making them, look good for the camera. So I thought that was a good little tie-in. You mentioned it just a little bit. Dustin's hair, he was flipping out because he couldn't find whatever he had gotten, and he got the product that Steve had suggested.
Got the Ferris spray.
Yeah.
Got to see it in all of its glory.
Steve, pumping up Dustin, you kind of mentioned that a little bit. That was kind of a cute little moment. I thought when Steve saw Nancy, I thought that was kind of a, I'm not really over you.
No.
So I'm kind of curious what's going to happen. I feel like he knows that her and Jonathan are kind of together now. That's the gist I got.
But are they? Do you think Jonathan and Nancy, did you get that? Or did you just, I don't know that I know that.
I don't know. It kind of felt like when he said, it's okay, go with him.
Mm-hmm.
To the cabin, that was kind of I know you're not interested in me anymore. You might be interested in him, but you should go with him and not stay here with me, kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know if they're actually together or not.
It's probably a pretty good, reasonable assumption to think that they're together. They did have that, glance across the room there as she's serving punch and he's taking the pictures. But I was just like, well, do we know that? Do we know that they're together? They just had a glance and a smile, and they had that before, and they weren't together. I think she needs to take a step back and figure out what she wants for sure.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, maybe she's had a month. I mean, we know that this was a month later from those events whenever Elle closed the gate. So maybe she's had some time to step back and think about that. But I think Nancy needs to just step back and think for a moment.
Well, I mean, she just needs like a 6 months where the world's not about to end, so she can kind of like focus on herself. Give her a little Nancy time.
Right.
And see, really find herself and not be wanting to, take these trips to see these creepy dudes that, are conspiracy theorists and, make out with, this guy because she had too many tequila shots.
Exactly.
If I had a nickel.
Right.
I thought there was more dancing going on, like when they first open up like when they first show the snowball, than any junior high dance I've ever been to.
Yes.
All the junior high dances I went to, it's the guys on one side, girls on the other, hands in your pockets, and
everybody staring at each other.
Just a lot of awkward standing around.
You're exactly right.
One of the comparisons I thought was interesting is, when you see Steve look at Nancy, I kind of think you see Steve and Dustin in the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Jonathan would be considered a friend to Steve, but it's the fact that the girl that you really want is with somebody else. Because, you see Dustin seeing Lucas and Max dancing, and like his thoughts is like, that's why I got dressed up, was to, for her. And then he's got to kind of try and find something else.
Yeah, man.
Touching moment, like you said, with Nancy telling Dustin that he's her favorite of his friends, of her brother's friends.
I know. It made me smile.
Yeah. Other quick hitters, Joyce and Hop, they're sitting there. He said something about, like, I think Mr. Cooper retired back in the 70s, so we should be okay. Yeah. Sharing a cigarette again. I thought that was kind of a cute moment. Like we talked about earlier in this episode, the series, we thought Hop had a thing for Joyce.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this was more of like a friend being there for a friend. But I'm curious to see what's going to come of that next season.
Yeah. I don't think it was the first time that they've shared a cigarette out in the parking lot at the school.
Yeah. And last you have Elle and Mike. She shows up looking fancy, and he asked her to dance. And I love the lines like, well, I don't know how. He's like, well, I don't either. Do you want to figure it out together? Which is kind of what relationships are at that age. It's like, well, I don't know how to be in a relationship. Do you just want to try and figure it out together, and we'll go from there?
Exactly. Yeah, really good insight on that.
The very last thing is we get to see everybody kissing. Lucas and Max get to kiss. Elle and 11 get to kiss. Elle and Mike get to kiss. Well, I guess it's just those two that kiss, now that I think about it.
Right. Yeah. Nancy was not kissing on Dustin.
I kind of thought she might give him a little peck on the cheek. But then, we don't see who will. He's dancing with some girl that calls him Zombie Boy, but they don't kiss. But you get to see a few people kind of locking lips, which, you kind of like to see those relationships starting to grow.
Yeah. Well, that was a really great moment. I mean, I don't know who this little girl was that came up to Will and asked him to dance. And I like how she kind of joked and said, hey, Zombie Boy, want to dance? And it was so hilarious. Mike's like, dude, go. Why are you just standing there? Don't look at me. Just go. That's what he's like thinking and trying to communicate silently. He's like, what's wrong with you? Go. I thought it was super adorable. I think that was a big impact, and that girl, I think will really help turn things around for Will, because we saw how much it got picked on in the beginning of the season, where everybody was calling him Zombie Boy in a really mean way, and he was having a really hard time at school with what had happened and stuff, and people, just kind of like, oh, you're a weirdo, you're a freak, that whole thing. So I really love that. I was so happy for Will that, it looks like it's kind of turning around for him as far as his reputation at school, which he had absolutely no control over, what happened and stuff. He's just trying to deal with it. So I really like that moment. Gosh, I'm going to go through my notes because you covered a lot of my notes. It wasn't really anything in my top 5, but it was definitely a lot of my notes where they were at the snowball. I'm kind of sad we didn't get a lot more Mr. Clark. We only got sprinkles of him.
Yeah, he was kind of helping out at the snowball. That's really it.
Yeah. He was super cute, talking about how adorable Dustin was, Mr. Snazzy, and dressed up. I thought that was adorable. So I really kind of missed Mr. Clark. I think he's such a great character. You mentioned we see Mike getting his picture taken again was kind of reflective of the beginning of the season when they're dressed up in their Ghostbuster costumes and his mom's taking pictures, and he's like got that disgusted look on his face because you can tell he does not like having his picture taken, and he's just irritated his mother for making him do it, and it comes across so funny whenever he's having or whenever we see his snaps being taken, and it's hilarious to me because that is so me. And still to this day, when my mother wants to take pictures of us as a family, like, oh, let me get a picture. And I'm so annoyed, and I will make the same kind of face all the time. So irritated, make my mom so mad, and have since I was a kid, because I'm like, oh, just take the picture already. Why do you have to take 10 pictures? Just take one and let's get it over with. I hate having my picture taken. So I totally relate to Mike and his displeasure. I really got a kick out of Dustin and his Ferris spray. That was awesome. I would love to know how they got their hands on that. I don't know if it was the authentic, but somehow they got a hold of that label. Even those labels are hard to come across by. So curious how they got a hold of that. That was super cool. You mentioned how sweet Nancy was with Dustin. I think his social points went up big time when everybody, because he got spurned by that one Stacy girl. I don't know her last name, but I think that they talked about her in the beginning when they were like, even Stacy, what's her face, showed up to Will's funeral, or what if she showed up was crying at Will's funeral and stuff. And so, I mean, I think his social points went up big time with Nancy asking him to dance because, he's dancing with a high school girl and Nancy's popular. And that moment, I think Steve still loves Nancy. I'm interested to see what happens next. Are Nancy and Jonathan dating? Steve still loves her. Do we still have a love triangle happening here? Mike and Eleven's kiss, finally, that happened because you see lots of moments, or well, maybe not lots of moments, but I feel like there's a couple times where it was getting ready to happen and it got cut off. So we finally got to see that. I really liked and I'm kind of going into my notes a little bit here. Did you want to say anything else about your number one before I keep going into my notes?
Oh, no. Go with your notes. That's
okay.
All I had on what was it called? The snowball.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just keep on going with my notes and then we'll go into your notes if you have some. I have a lot of notes because there was so much. I feel that we could have probably had almost a top 10, probably a little bit. There was so much that happened in this finale. I really liked whenever Hopper and Eleven got back to the facility and they ran into Dr. Owens in the stairwell, and his persuasion technique with Doc Owens to help Eleven. That was
pretty awesome.
It was really great. I mean, and seeing Dr. Owens' face as he meets Eleven, and he's like, holy shit, she's here, she exists. I think he was somewhat intimidated by her because he knows what she can do. He knows what she's capable of. But I really liked Hopper and his talking to Dr. Owens and saying, she's going to save all of us. How about you help her after, Thought that was really great. That was
a very eye-opening thing for the doctor too. He's like, well, shit, if this guy's been keeping this from me for this long, what else? This dude's a lot more badass than I thought.
Yeah, right in his own backyard. They weren't very far. I mean, he was keeping her, local. So yeah, really good point. And then we got to see that payback. In the end, Doc Owens got a birth certificate for Elle, showing Hopper cool. as the dad.
Jane Hopper.
So that was super cool. And whenever he sat down, he offers him, Dr. Owens offers Hopper half of his sandwich. He's like, hey, I'm not going to eat all of this. You want half? And Hopper says, no, I'm on a diet, and pushes it away. I laughed because I thought, was that a reference to his diet and his workout for Hellboy?
That's exactly what I thought too.
Yes. Great minds, Shawn. Great minds. We are one mind for sure. But I thought, that's hilarious. Was he at that time getting ready to start his training? Because, they got to train for however many months or whatever. Because he's pumped. And I know we've said it, guys, but again, listeners, if you haven't checked out David Harbour, in his, I don't know if he's still maintaining that shape or if it was just for the movie, but if you haven't checked out how buff he's gotten for that role, you should check it out. That man did some work, and he ain't no spring chicken. He's 43, I believe. That's hard to do at that age to make that kind of commitment and to get that ripped, and he did it. But I thought that was funny. I thought, are they getting ready to start filming or getting ready to start doing his training? And he's talking about being on a diet. Of course, that didn't last because he did take a bite of that sandwich, right?
Yeah.
Come on, just one, just a couple bites. It's okay. Then I really liked, you mentioned it a little bit, the kids in the Upside Down, Dustin and Dart
Yeah.
had their moment. Now
That
look,
was yeah, that's the note I have. I almost put that in one of my 5.
I know it was almost big enough for me. Look, I am a huge animal lover, and I know that this was a demogorgon, a demodog, whatever you want to call it. I love all animals, evil or good. And to see what happened to Dart, because we saw whenever 11 closed the gate and all the demodogs started falling from where they were climbing the sides there. And then you see Dart, after they'd had their moment, and he's like, bringing him in with the Three Musketeers, and everyone's able to get around him. And you can see that they still have, he's still kind of bad, and he seems kind of unsure, but he seems to remember Dustin. He remembers the Three Musketeers, and I thought that was such a touching moment. And then to see at the end when what happened to all the Demogorgons, I cried. I cried over Dart.
Oh yeah, I got a little teary eyed there too. Like you see Dart sitting there with that nougat packet right in front of him, you're like, oh, Dart didn't make. Because I was just thinking, it's like, oh, well, maybe Dart made it, and it was just things outside of the Upside Down.
Right.
I was like, nope, Dart's gone too.
I know. I cried. I mean, it's like such an emotional. There were so many things happening, and it was such an emotional moment. Elle had just went to extreme measures, closing that gate, and was completely exhausted. Hopper holding her there at the end, the demodogs falling from the sides, and then it flashes to Dart, because it wasn't just those demodogs, it was all of them. And you saw him lying there, and I was crying. I know he was a demogorgon, but I can't help it. I'm an animal lover, and I don't like to see any animals dying. That really got me. We got justice for Barb.
Yep, Barb was buried. So I forgot what his name was, but the conspiracy theory guy kind of was able to fulfill his side of the bargain. I love him sitting there as the facility's getting shut down. He's just waving at all the the army guys driving by drinking a beer, and they're just giving him the finger. Like, that was a great little fu.
That was hilarious.
Because you hear people talking about, because that's what they basically say. Like the government officially said that yes, there was a leak and that's what killed Barb, because you hear people reading the letters that they had sent out. Yep.
Facility shut down, locked up. What does that mean exactly? And hear about the town where nothing happens. I thought, damn, they could be talking about my town. I'm living in Hawkins. Nothing happens in this town. And then, justice for Barb. I know lots of people were so upset that that's how it ended for Barb in the first season. And the Duffer Brothers had promised that, there would be justice for Barb, without giving any spoilers before it was released, of course, that, there would be justice. And I think people would be happy. And I think that we got that. And that was great as well. Kind of a nice moment that we got that. So, and then, of course, we got the end. We had the snowball scene, and it pans out to the outside of the school, and then what do we see? We see the school.
See the school in the Upside Down with a big old mind flare just hovering over it, which they
creepy.
did that in this episode too, or earlier in one of these episodes at the end, where they kind of start tilting the camera and it flips whatever you're looking at upside down. I love that they can play with that, because I always love that imagery.
I know
it's very much like Resident Evil, like when we talked. No, not Resident Evil. What's Silent Hill? Like we've talked about, where it kind of relates to that.
Yes, like another dimension type kind of thing. Like you're there, but you're not there. Ugh, creepy. That was a true creepy moment for me, and seeing that thing looming over the school like that. It was very menacing, very scary. So I have a question though. What do you think? We didn't talk too much about we did a little bit. I think we touched on it, but the scene between Hopper and Elle, whenever they're driving to the facility, they're having their moment. And what do you think about Elle not telling Hopper about her half sister and what happened while she was gone?
I kind of figured she'd because she goes through the fact of like, she went to see her aunt, and that was kind of like, well, you went there. It's like, yeah, I drove in a truck. A truck? He's like, yeah, big truck. So he's like, okay, you went like hitchhiking. And she says, oh, well, because I think he thinks that her aunt's the one that dressed her like that.
Yep.
But I think it's just like, any father-daughter or any father-child relationships, like, you don't really want to tell your dad. Your dad probably doesn't want to hear every single detail. of things that you've done. It's kind of one of those things like, okay, I know you're safe. You've admitted to me that you made a mistake. It seems like you've learned from it. Let's move on. Of the moments from that piece where they're driving, there's only really the last two notes I have. I thought it was funny when Hopper says like, well, I guess we broke our rule. And I was like, yes, they broke the Shania Twain's rule. The don't be stupid rule, and they broke them.
Right.
But the touching thing is he mentioned Sarah, which I don't remember if he's mentioned her name before. But as he's talking about her, he can't say that she's died. She just says that she was taken away from her. And that she's gone.
Yeah.
And I really noted that was kind of like a, just like he can't get over the fact that she's actually passed away. And I don't know if he's even really, I don't know. I just don't know if he's come to grips with that yet.
Yeah.
But he does tell Joyce later in the episode about how like it's true what they say, each day it gets a little bit easier. But yeah, I was kind of, I don't know if it's really her not telling him about Chicago was just kind of like, well, I've kind of already told him enough. I don't really need to tell him I was in Chicago too.
Yeah.
But I'm curious if because that's a bombshell. If he knows there's another one of, another number out there, like what do you do with that information?
Right. Yeah. Does she think that maybe she's protecting her by not telling Hopper, or is that going to somehow come into play next season? Will we see more of her and more of that story? Will we see more numbers, more kids?
Yeah, probably.
I
think that's probably her protecting him. Yeah.
So I wondered, I thought, well, why? I mean, clearly she's holding back. So I was just curious what your thoughts were about that and why she may not have told Hopper about that. One other last little note that I had, because there's just so many notes, was the title of this episode, The Gate, reminds me of that 80s movie. I've talked about it before. This was like, it was horrible. It was a horrible movie. It was not like this. It's probably people are like, what are you talking about? The Gate. We never heard of this. If you were my age in the 80s and you had HBO, you know what I'm talking about. This, and I won't really tell too much about what it was about, but it was kind of similar to how, well, obviously the name of the movie is called The Gate, so you can kind of figure out a little bit about what happens and how it kind of relates a little bit to Stranger Things and the gate that we have in the series and how it was opened and stuff. But I don't know that if that was inspiration for them at all, the Duffer Brothers, or if it was just kind of a quinky dink because that's kind of what it was about. Or what the series it was about and what this episode was about. But just a little callback for anyone who might remember that cheesy 80s movie with those creepy little dudes that I think gave me nightmares and I swore lived under my bed whenever I was a kid. So what other notes do you have, Shawn? Because I think I gave all of mine. Yep,
those are just my last two notes I had. You kind of covered all the stuff that I had. So, I mean, it was a really jam-packed episode.
Oh, it was.
And, it was I really like that this, like they kind of look like movies. Like they consider this like a sequel, not a season 2.
Right, exactly.
And I like that this was a very condensed, almost like a long TV movie. And so I thought they handled it really, really well.
They did. I'm really anxious now because I just watched this episode prior to us recording this episode of the podcast. So I'm interested in going back and doing a rewatch and kind of doing it. I don't know if I'll actually have time to binge the entire season in a day or so, but I'm interested to at least try to go back and binge a little bit and just see, how it plays out. Because I think the first season kind of does that. They kind of, mirrored it after a movie. It wasn't like a series. It was more like a movie, like an 8-hour movie. And I think they kind of did the same thing with this one, like a 9-hour movie. So I'm interested to kind of go back and watch it several episodes at a time and see how it all plays about and see if I have any kind of different perspective on it doing that. So I don't know. Need more time. Not enough time to do all this stuff and watch these shows. Okay, because speaking of, because we have news coming up if you're done with your notes.
Yep, I think I'm ready for some news.
Yeah, because speaking of news, if anyone happened to miss our last announcement, because we may not have so much time, because we're going to be covering another show.
Yes, we are. Comes out on the 29th. I don't know if it might be a show that some people have heard of.
Maybe. I hope. I hope anyone that's listening has heard of this show. Yeah, because we're going to be covering it. If you haven't heard of it by now, we're going to mention it again. We're also going to be covering the Netflix TV series Black Mirror. It will be season 4 coming out on December the 29th, as Shawn mentioned. So be watching for that to be coming out. We're super excited to be covering it. If you haven't, seen Black Mirror yet, I highly encourage you to go watch it. You don't have to watch it from season 1 to catch up to season 4. It's an anthology. If you don't already know, you can jump in and watch any episode of any season that you want, and it's not, going to follow one particular story or stories or people, characters, or anything like that. Super interesting if you haven't already seen it. I highly encourage you just to go check it out. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun covering it.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm all the way through season 2, so I probably won't finish season 3 by the time season 4 starts. But it's one of those things that, a lot of thought-provoking stuff. And it's going to be coming out on the same feed, so you don't have to worry about trying to find, a different podcast. It's going to be here on our Strange Indeed feed. So next week, you should just see another episode pop up, and you might be like, hey, wait a second, there's no Stranger Things going on. They just covered the last episode.
Yeah.
Well, because we're going to be covering the Black Mirror episode. So I'm really, really excited for it.
Yeah. And if you follow us, on social media, we'll definitely be, posting about it and reminding everyone, as Shawn said, obviously there's no more Stranger Things episodes, which it's not like they came out week by week. We just covered it week by week. But, obviously since this is the finale, just be watching for that. We'll definitely be posting stuff, and we really hope that you guys listen, because we're really excited to talk about it. And I think it's some good stuff to talk about. So on with the rest of the news. Shawn, you want to kick us off with the first one?
All right. So this is from Creation Entertainment. So Stranger Things captured everyone's attention when it debuted in 2016 with amazing performance, intriguing mystery, and its Steven Spielberg, Stephen King vibe, drawing on 80s culture, horror, and the all too familiar experience of being a nerdy kid. The show managed to be fresh and exciting while feeling familiar and relatable. There's no way we at Creation will ever look at Christmas lights the same way again. We couldn't be more excited to bring you StrangerCon in Chicago, a convention that celebrates the show we love so much and the people who make it what it is. Headlined by breakout star Millie Bobby Brown, we bring you the stars of Stranger Things off the screen and in person for 2 days full of excitement, music, and fun. Meet your favorite actors from Stranger Things and interact with them in ways you never thought possible. Don't worry, we didn't invite the Demogorgon or Shadow Monster. The con will be held on Saturday and Sunday, June 23rd through the 24th in 2018. I just kind of looked at their site, and it looks like they're going to have Millie Bobby Brown, Noah Schnapp, Joe Carey, who plays Steve Harrington, and Shannon Purser, who plays Barb. That's who they have so far, but they're going to be adding more soon.
That is super cool. I came across that and I thought, oh my gosh, now, and just as a disclaimer, we don't work for them. We haven't been asked to promote that. I just thought it was super cool because obviously if you're listening to our podcast, you are a fan of the show. And I feel like it's our purpose to help let you guys know of these things that are coming about, if they're making appearances or something new like this has come about and you're interested in meeting them and going to this convention. It sounds very, they call it Stranger Con, so it seems like it's very Stranger Things centric, all things to do with Stranger Things. And I thought that was super cool for anyone who's a big fan of the show and wants to meet the stars, because I don't see them I see sometimes Millie Bobby Brown. I see a couple of the kids sometimes doing a couple of different cons out there. But I haven't seen some others. So this I think is super cool. So if you are in Chicago in June, be looking for that. I think that'd be super fun. I'll have to see what my schedule looks like.
Well, we need to drop them a note. They have a master of ceremonies for StrangerCon. And there's nobody showing it. So I think maybe we need to drop them a message and be like, hey, we might be perfect for this.
Shawn, you have the most brilliant ideas and you don't get enough credit for that. So I want to make sure that it's publicly said. I definitely think they should, I'm cool with reaching out to them, but they should be reaching out to us. I think we're pretty
That's
awesome.
True, yeah.
I'm still a little irked we didn't get asked to host the Beyond Stranger Things show. Maybe this will make up for it. Maybe. again. That'd be super cool. Yeah, but regardless of anything like that, I would definitely like to check out going. I'm within a decent distance of Chicago. So that's a very quick flight for me to jump on. I'm not driving. I don't do road trips, people. It's got to be a great experience for me to do a road trip. Sorry, to get me in a car. I get car sick. But it's a fairly short flight. I think that would be super fun. Check out our schedule. Let's talk offline, Shawn.
I like that idea.
Yeah, let's do that. Cool. Yeah, I'll be looking for us, folks. We'll try and keep everyone well informed, even if we're not currently covering Stranger Things because it's coming up in June. We'll try to post more stuff about it as we learn. If you guys are interested, or reach out to me on social media, and I'll get you guys some information if I have it. So. The next article that we have is from The Hollywood Reporter. So, breaking news just before, as I'm posting all of this stuff and digging for some news to talk about for Stranger Things, they're going to do a Mad About You revival.
Yes.
Yeah. So I saw this and I thought, how perfect timing that this happens to pop up on my news. And it had nothing to do with Stranger Things or just a pop up on Hollywood Reporter. So yes, Paul Reiser, who we know and love as Dr. Owens on Stranger Things, and Helen Hunt will be attached. So almost 2 decades after its 7-season run wrapped, producers are eyeing a potential revival for NBC's beloved Mad About You. Sources confirmed to The Hollywood Reporter that the independent studio has had informal talks for a potential 8th season of the Emmy-nominated comedy that starred Paul Reiser and Helen Hunt. No deals are in place, and network is not currently attached, and Sony TV declined to comment. So both Paul Reiser, who co-created the series alongside Danny Jacobson, and Hunt would return for the revival. And NBC, which aired all 7 seasons of the comedy, is not currently in the mix for the reboot, which would be set in the present day, and it will follow Paul and Jamie in the wake of their 17-year-old daughter Mabel's college acceptance.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, so I'm super excited about that. I was a big fan of Mad About You. Whenever it aired, I watched it all the time. My kid loved it all the time. Just loved them so much. So that made me super excited, and I thought it was super cool. Since Paul Reiser, we got to see him in Stranger Things, and obviously this was a big show for him, and it was great. So. All right. So that's all of our news for this time around for the finale episode. We're going to jump into letters from the Upside Down. One of my favorite parts that we get to talk about is our listener feedback. Shawn, why don't you jump in with the first one?
All right. This first one's from Steve Brown. So Hopper and Will's interaction in the cold open was great. David and Fid did great acting. Hairband Billy hitting on Nancy's mom. Ew. I think Steve understood that Nancy and he are not meant to be together, even though he sees sad at the end. Doc Owens is alive. I love most of all that the Duffer Brothers did not leave us with a cliffhanger, just the obvious one that the Mind Flayer is still alive and wants to get into our world. Notes, even though the group is dispersed, they are together in purpose and mission. The Steve and Billy showdown was great, and Max to the rescue. The Dustin and Steve friendship is shown again, Dustin comforting Steve about losing the fight, convincing Steve to help. Steve in the tunnels and in the fight with Hairband. It was amazing the plan to draw the Demodogs away worked. The smoke monster that came out of Will went back through the gate as it closed. Oh, I guess I didn't notice that.
Mm-hmm.
The Snowball, 84, Dustin's hair, Nancy's the coolest wingman he could hope for. Will and Eleven's kiss to a cool police song.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to have to just say it. I know that's an extremely popular police song, and I was around when that came out. I don't like that song. It's kind of creepy. It's kind of stalkery for me. But people love it, and that's great. That's what's great. Next is from Kristen Howell. Season 2 VIP Steve Harrington. Best actor on this show, Noah Schnapp. Season 2 versus Season 1, just turn it up to 11. The sheer amount of crazy in this season made Season 1 look adorable. Loved it. Can't wait for Season 3. Oh, good notes, Kristen. Thank you. I agree.
Andrew Newton. I would say Season 1 definitely remains my personal favorite, as it was in my eyes a perfectly realized standalone work. That being said, Season 2 as the next chapter offers thrills and emotion in spades and does well to keep the momentum going. While the conclusion is more feel-good in many respects, I feel they've actually opened the door to greater exploration to come with how the characters move forward. I have heard season 3 may be potentially more intimate and character-focused and might employ another 80s influence. With the kids starting high school, could this include some more John Hughes inspiration, perhaps?
Deep
Possibly.
thoughts.
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah, they gotta get some influence from somewhere, so why not? Des Combs says, I was so bad and binged the whole season as soon as I got home from Atlanta. I wrote notes for every episode and was going to send them in each week, but always remembered too late to send them in on time. It's okay, Des. No sweat, man. We're glad you're here. So here goes. Although I may combine the last 2 episodes just because my brain is foggy. The end of season 2 was incredible. From Bob's sacrifice to Elle's Jean Grey moment and the most expensive 1980s junior high prom ever. The Duffer Brothers did not miss a beat. Do we all feel a little bit better about F and Ted now that we've met Max's stepdad?
They're kind of like polar opposites of each other.
Yeah, I keep laughing about it. Most expensive 1980s junior high. That is right. I did not ever have that many decorations or anything. And we didn't have pictures. I don't even think we had punch.
Well, I think my junior high dances was in the cafeteria, and there wasn't even like a sound system. It was just a boom box.
Oh,
and then like maybe somebody brought a black light in, and they just kept the lights down low. But yeah, it was. And at that age too, when they bring in a black light, it's like, oh, this shirt's got mustard stains on it.
I know. Dang it. Stains are coming through. Your teeth look blue. They're glowing or whatever. Oh my gosh. Thanks, Des, for cracking me up.
Stephanie M. Fernandez, the extremes of emotion that Joyce and Jonathan are showing experienced during Will's exorcism are a nice contrast, with the female character consumed by her anger and need for vengeance, while the male character is distraught and in need of the support, the opposite of what you might expect. That's kind of a twist on what you typically would see as, the woman being the one that's like, oh my gosh, and the dude be like, oh, I'll do it. And, they just made it more realistic here where the dude's like, oh God, I can't take this anymore.
Yeah. Gosh, Joyce, man, she's a strong female character.
Yeah, don't mess with Mama Bear.
I know. She was amazing. God, Winona Ryder. Can we not just say enough great things about her, please?
I mean, you look at the first couple episodes of the first season, I was kind of like, oh man, it feels like she's just not hitting it for me. But after that point on, she's just been awesome.
She has been amazing. I've loved her forever. So I just think she does great. Laura Willie Swink says, wow, this season finale was even more tubular than even last season. The scene between Hairband Billy and Karen was priceless. Steve the D, which for me has now become Steve the Dude, has quickly become one of my favorite characters. And though I think Nancy and Jonathan are rather sweet together, I still feel heartbroken for Steve. All the groups working together was just the Avengers-style teamwork this finale needed. But it was Joyce's strength and tenacity as a mother that absolutely pulled at my heartstrings. Plus, we finally get to see the snowball. Dustin was looking his very Ducky Dale best. And Nancy was right. He's going to be a lady killer one of these days. Of all the shows I watched this year, the season of Stranger Things was my favorite, even more so than Game of Thrones' amazing 7th season. Oh wow, Laura, that's a strong statement. I guess some people could chalk it up to the nostalgia, but this season just felt fully fleshed out and made with sincere heart that just made me so happy. Oh gosh, Laura, that's a really great piece of feedback. I love all your references. I can always count on you to make the same references that I would have had I been giving this feedback. Thank you so much. Love that.
Claire Joanna says, my absolute number one is tied for Mike and Eleven's reunion at the Byers' residence and them dancing and sharing a kiss at the snowball. So sweet. I've already watched season 2 3 times since it was released, and I'm still not over Mike and Eleven's bond. I also love Steve and Billy's fight. Max smashing the nail bat between Billy's legs after giving him a shot of tranquilizer. Steve's reaction to waking up in the backseat of Camaro being driven by a 13-year-old. Wouldn't that car have been a stick shift? How would she drive that thing? That's a good point. I don't remember if it was a stick shift or not.
I don't remember them being a stick shift in my day.
I think they probably had both. I mean, they had automatics back then, I'm sure. So many things in this episode. I absolutely love it. Also, I wanted to ask you if either of you had noticed the cover of the book Karen Wheeler was reading about before Billy showed up at the door. It's Heart of Thunder, which is a real book. Goodness, those titles. But it seemed that the Stranger Things crew actually went to the trouble of painting a new cover for it featured the likeness of Dockery Montgomery, who plays Billy on the cover, so Karen would be extra flush when her literal dream man, boy, he is a teenager after all, shows up at her door.
It took me a second time to watch that before I kind of noticed. They do kind of pan on that if you go back and watch. Because I read this quickly and I went back and looked, and I think you're right, Claire. That was some good eyeballing. Checking out the cover of that romance novel, it does almost appear that I think he's even got this dude, whoever it is, on the cover of this romance novel that she's reading, has got the mullet and everything, like
nice.
Billy's hair, and you would swear that's his face. Really good pickup. Thanks for pointing that out. So now we have some emails. Gosh, we've been getting so many great emails. So thank you guys so much for writing in. You know, I love seeing the emails as well as the Facebook feedback. So Emily Baglarian, I am so sorry, Emily, if I just butchered your last name. Hi, Rima and Shawn. It's your big fan from California again. Sorry I've waited a week to write. It's because I've been boycotting episode 7. I'm not a fan. I've skipped it every time I rewatch, but I'll admit that listening to your insight made it a bit better. I can appreciate now why this episode was included in the season. You requested for me to write back and let you know if people in Cali say totally tubular nowadays. Sorry to disappoint, but they don't. But
man.
Damn it. You California people, get on that shit.
Bring it back. Bring back totally tubular.
Bring it back. And she says, but I'll try to bring it back for you too.
There we go.
Thanks, Emily. You've got our back. We love you. Let's see what we can do. Let's make signs and everything. Okay, so here are her thoughts on episode 8. First and most obviously, rest in peace, Bob. I'm still not over it. I saw it coming from a mile away, but still not over it. Billy's backstory is somewhat tragic, but he still sucks and I hate him. Laughed out loud when Dustin said that Dart had molted 3 times and Steve asks, malted? Laughed even harder when Steve mixes up Germans and Nazis. Dr. Owens isn't such a bad guy after all, huh? Lots of respect for how he stayed back to help the others. I wish they had thought to use fire to fight against the demidogs, but I don't blame them because it took me rewatching the season 3 or 4 times to think of that. I'm sure in the moment it wasn't their first thought, but it probably would have been more effective than guns. Can we give a shout out to Finn Wolfhard and Noah Schnapp in this episode? Their acting is unbelievable. When Finn screams, "What happened?" after Bob is killed, it gives me chills every time. The scene where they interrogate Noah is also almost haunting with the fluorescent lighting. But am I the only one who thought the kids were going to play a bigger role in the fight against the demidogs? They all rushed to the scene and I thought something heroic was going to happen, but they just wait outside. But it's nice to finally have the whole crew back together when they get back to Joyce's house. I love when the phone is ringing and Nancy rips it off the wall and throws it on the ground. You can see that was great. You can see the admiration in Dustin's eyes behind her. Honestly, Nancy is so cool, except for the fact that she chose Jonathan, who looks like a goblin, over Steve. The D is for delightful. Oh my God. Also, I wonder what the phone call was about. We're assuming it was the people that Hopper called. What were they going to say? I hadn't thought about that question. That's a really good point. I hadn't thought about who might have been on the other end of that call. Thank you, Emily. That was really great.
So this one is from Josh DeWally. So my top 5 for episode 9, 5, Dancing with Nancy. This was just a great booster for Dustin's crushed self-esteem. Those girls shouldn't have judged the growl. Number 4, Max and Billy. Max got her spine and put Billy in his place. Sedatives may have helped a little. 3, Elle closes the gate. 2, Closure. The scene with Dart and Dustin and the proof of the connection they made makes you wonder if the Demodogs have gained some sense of humanity. Dart could have killed any of those kids, and he just ate a Three Musketeers and died peacefully.
Oh.
The upside down snowball. My only complaint about the show is both seasons seem to climax early, solve the problems of the season, and make everything seem to be all over until the last 30 seconds. Anyway, thanks for the great cast. Merry Christmas, or Merry Holidays, Happy Christmas, and now I don't know what to do until season 3. Well, Josh, what you got is Black Mirror. That's what we're going to be doing next.
That's what we're going to be doing next. If you're not already watching, we're not going away. So don't just think, oh, well, I have nothing to listen to until then. We're not going anywhere. Stick around. You love us, right? Caroline Swiney, and again, damn it, I'm horrible with names. So please, if you want to write in and say, damn it, Rima, get my name straight, please do so. I welcome it. She says, hey, Rima and Shawn, I'm a huge fan of your podcast and also the movie Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Probably have seen it 10 plus times. Yeah, me too. I know the Duffer Brothers had said that they used lots of 80s movies as inspiration for the second season, and that one of them was Temple of Doom. I noticed 3 scenes from season 2 I thought were pretty direct references to that movie. Number 1, Hopper going back to grab his hat before they set fire to the tunnels. Same as Indy going back to grab his hat before the door to the trap room closes. I agree. Very good. Number 2, Nancy and Jonathan talking to themselves about their flaws in separate bedrooms, then meeting in the middle. Same as Willie and Indy doing basically the same thing in the palace. Oh, that's good. Caroline, I hadn't thought of that one, but yeah, you're exactly right. Damn. See, this is why I love it when you guys write in. Number 3, Max using a wooden block to drive Billy's car is the same as Short Round doing the same while driving the getaway car. Oh my God, that's great. Good callback. Number 4, Nancy stabbing Will with a hot iron to get the mind flayer out of him. It's the same as callback to Short Round using a hot torch to release Indy from his evil collie trance. Oh, that was great. She said, also thought it was interesting that 8's name is Kali, a.k.a. the goddess of destruction from Temple of Doom. Possible foreshadowing for season 3? That was great, Caroline. Yeah, really great callback. I can't believe I totally missed that because, yeah, I've seen, God, Temple of Doom. I can't even tell you how many times I've probably watched it. One of my favorite Indiana Jones movies out of all of them. And, God, watching it over and over, that was really great. Thanks for that. See, this is what's so great about you guys writing in. You guys point all of the stuff out to us that we miss. Thanks, Caroline.
Yeah, now on our rewatch, if we ever go back, you kind of keep that in mind, too. So it's like, oh, what else is there that I might have missed?
I know. So much to pick up on.
All right, so this is, hi, love your show and ST. I had the same feeling originally about the Mind Flare, Will knowing his location by the ring of the phone at the buyer's residence. But listening to your podcast, it dawned on me, this is the phone that Will somehow was trying to connect his mom from inside the Upside Down in season 1. Also, Will being the spy in the right side up, but the Mind Flare being mostly in the upside down, the Mind Flare can hear the phone ringing in both dimensions, worlds through its own ears as well as Will's, and can easily make the connection. Happy holidays, Keith from, I don't know if you want to say where he's from, so we'll just say Keith.
Yeah, good thoughts, Keith. See, this is why I have to go back and just watch again. So much insight. Thanks, Keith. Okay, so here's another email from Josh Price. Hey guys, first off, let's just get this out of the way. Holy shit snacks. All right, back to the business at hand. First off, how about that reunion, huh? Woo, Betty Mike has got balls of steel, but I mean, he kind of had a reason to be mad. Was that the coldest shoulder ever given on TV? Elle said, nah, bitch. The whole scene with Steve trying to get the kids to listen to him kills me. We aren't even in the game. You know what? Okay, you're right. Billy has a point with the creepy factor of finding Max and at Strange House with Steve. But yet again, his treating of Lucas and Max in the scene doesn't justify anything. So the synth playing as Elle and Hopper have their heart-to-heart, Kill Me Now, is amazing, much like all the music in this show. Also, Hopper's face when she said she went to see Mama was priceless. Elle goes full-on Jean Grey Dark Phoenix on the Mind Flayer's ass. Nancy dancing with Dustin is a callback to season 1, episode 1, when Dustin had that crush on her. Oh, good point. Also, Dustin was totally me in middle school. Couldn't get a date if he tried. Damn it, Duffers, you got me again. Notice the blue bracelet on Elle's wrist at the dance? Sarah's hair bow that Hopper's been wearing since season 1 and now belongs to his other daughter, and cue the waterworks. Also, the playing of Every Breath You Take during the snowball is kinda a two-sided affair. The one lyric that says, since you've gone, I've been lost without a trace. I dream at night, I can only see your face, is directly speaking about Elle and Mike's relationship over those 353 days. The other side of the coin is that it's the total creeper song we know it as it plays. And we see the shadow monster looming. He's going to watch Elle till he can get his hands, tentacles on her. Hurry up, season 3. Thanks for the great pod for the season. Sorry this was so long, but had a lot in that one episode.
I like that callback to that song. Yeah. It's like you see the mind flare on the other side of the, just kind of rocking back and forth, slow dancing with itself.
That's true. I didn't even make that connection. I mean, I know earlier I totally called it a creeper song because that's how I feel about it. It's kind of a stalkery, but that totally does make sense when it flips, and you can still hear like the song kind of playing in a creepy kind of way, and how that shadow monster seems to be watching those kids or Elle. He's, I think, going to make her pay for closing the gate in season 3. Oh man. How do we wait? We wait because we're going to cover Black Mirror and maybe some other stuff
else we can find until then.
Yeah, listen, don't just think it's Stranger Things, Black Mirror, we're done. Don't give up on us, guys. We have some things in the works. You just need to stay tuned because we're going to tease you guys a little bit. We're not going to give you everything at once. That's not how this works. So hang with us. Keep following us on social media and watch for those announcements, and keep watching. Subscribe to our podcast so that way it downloads. Do that auto download thingamajigger, and keep following us and listening to us because we love you guys. We want you to stick with us, and we need you to help us through this hiatus. So don't be selfish and stay with us. Help us out.
Yeah, well, and thanks everybody again for all the feedback for all of season 1 and 2, and we're excited to get the feedback as well for Black Mirror. So it's one of my favorite parts to see all the interaction we're getting and all the friendships we're kind of making from this. So thanks again for all the listener feedback.
Yes, thank you everyone. It really is like my favorite part is you guys give us such great insight, and thank you for taking the time. It means a lot.
All right, so next week we'll be covering the first episode from season 4 of Black Mirror, titled Archangel. So something with Black Mirror, what I'm going to try a little bit different is I'm not going to give the description of the episode inside of our, at the end of our episodes, because Black Mirror is one of those things that I feel is, you just flip it on, you see the title, and then you have no idea what's going on. So I'm going to give that a shot. If you guys like it, don't like it, just let us know.
Yeah, we want to know what you think. Absolutely. So yeah, be looking for that. We're so excited for you having traveled to Hawkins, Indiana with us through this journey and covering season 2 of this. So until the next time, and at least until the next episode where we cover Black Mirror, you can follow us on Twitter at Strange Tcast.
You can like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/strangertcast.
You can email us at strangerthingscastpod@gmail.com. You can also find us on the TV Time app.
You can find Strange Indeed and a bunch of other great podcasts like Under the Comic Covers at podcastica.com. Go out and leave a review for Strange Indeed or any of the other great Podcastica podcasts on Apple Podcast.
Go do that. There's some fun things happening on Podcastica, so be sure to check that out. Also, make sure to check out Shawn in his other podcast.
Yeah, speaking of fun stuff going on, check that stuff out.
Yes, so check out The Language of Bromance. It comes out every Sunday. Shawn and his co-host are doing some amazing things.
Yep, we have it in the show notes. You can find it in your podcatchers, and if you have trouble finding it, let us know, and I'll point you in the right direction.
Yes, we will.
All right, well, that's our show, episode 17, chapter 9, The Gate.
Until next time, I'm Rima.
And I'm Shawn.
And Caroline Swiney is strange indeed.
You're pretty sure, or are you sure?
I'm 100% sure. Just follow me and you'll know.
Whoa, hey, I don't think so. Any of you little shits die down here, I'm getting the blame. Got it, dipshit? Here on out, I'm leading the way. Come on, let's go. Come on. Hey, a little hustle.